Hello, my name is Professor John Benjamin. This is West Virginia Wesleyan College, and this is Game Design. All right, so this lecture follows, or tutorial, follows the previous one, where we left off, as you can see here on the screen, on the first person template. All right, so what I'd like to do now, though, is actually go and start a new project. So let's go up here to File, and we're going to come down here and select New Project. So this is a whole new game if it's a new project. As you can see, this is the same interface that we had for the new project menu when we first started. And it's going to have a new game with new levels. So we're going to go ahead and select Games again and say Next. And this time we're going to select Blank instead of First Person. All right, so go ahead and select Next. We're going to keep this as it is, but hopefully you're going to go to the same folder. You might want to check. I'm going to J. Benjamin Game Design, so I know I'm in the right place. And then I'm just going to call this JB Blank. Great project. Great, and I'm not going to save the last one. There's really no need to. We're just practicing at this point, but you can save it if you like. All right, excellent. So here we have a blank, and in this template, they give us some starter material. So we've got some texture on our little plane down here. And we've got a couple of chairs and a table. The first thing I do want to show you, though, and this is probably a better way to illustrate this, is snapping again. So if I go ahead and I select this chair, it's just chair, there's two chairs, and let's go. I'm in world view now. Again, remember, switching to world view versus object view or object space. Okay, I wanted to point that out. Now, another thing I want to point out is this little option here, Open Editor Surface Snapping Options. So if I turn on surface snapping, and I can even turn off grid snapping, and I've got the little ball here, you can see it stays glued to the surface. And if I try to put it on the table, it snaps to that surface. And that's when we choose the little center ball area here in the position or location. So that's really important to know. So you typically want things to stay on the surface, and so you can move them around without worrying about that. So that's snap to surface. Now the other really nice option here is if you have rotate surface normal checked. So this is what it looks like unchecked. So I'm going to check it, and then if I rotate this object, all right, we're just going to rotate the chair like so, and I'm going to move it, and then I grab this little ball here, like we've done before, and then it'll automatically snap to the surface no matter how it's rotated. So that's just an easy way to kind of get all of your objects on the same plane. Nice and even. So I wanted to point that out. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the content browser. So let's take a look here. So here it is located at the bottom of the screen, and we can go ahead and make it a little larger. And here is the main folder. So we click on that, and there's our content. Now, typically we want to organize our content, and anything that we've created for this particular project, we'll create a new folder for it. So let's go ahead and do that. So here we have developers and starter content. But let's go ahead and create a folder for our content. So we'll say add new and new folder. And I'm just going to say JB blank level. I'm just going to say JB's content. All right, so there's our folder, and we can put new content in there. All right, some other things to keep in mind. So let's take a look into the starter content folder right here. And we can double click on it to enter and see some of this starter content. Let's look at the props. And you can see there's the chair, but you can now drag out other things like, let's say, a ceiling lamp. All right, there's a nice ceiling lamp. Looks great. And try something else. You just put out, let's see, here is a little bush. Oh, look at that. That's nice and cozy. Great. All right, so that's some starter content. Okay, and so let's learn how to navigate in here. So let's kind of move back to the main content folder. So we can just click on content here. It'll take us back here. And then here's our content, which we don't have any yet. One of the best ways, as I've mentioned before, to navigate to anything is to just simply search for it. So here we're back in the main content folder, and we can just simply type in chair. And we'll get a series of different things that are in that content, but this is the SM chair is what we're looking for. So if I want to put another chair in here, and want to invite a third person to the interview, we can. All right, and then you just hit the little X here to go back. I should also mention that you can see the folders here by clicking on Show or Hide the Source panel. So here you can navigate in this way. Oh, and if you're wondering what this little alert up here is, it's essentially, if we go here, and it says Show Stats. And so you can toggle that off by hitting Shift-L or unchecking that. And that's typically just telling us that lighting needs to be rebuilt, something along those lines. But at this point, we're not going to worry. Right. Okay. So let's say you can see an object here in the viewport, like this chair. I want to make changes to it, or I want to open up a blueprint, let's say, for instance, or add a blueprint to it. How do I find where this is in the content browser? So I can simply select the object. Let's say we're going to select the lamp here. And then if I go over to my details panel, I notice if we move down from transform to the static mesh panel here, now also note here that you can close up and minimize these to save space. And there is a little magnifying glass here, and there's also one under the materials. So if I click on that, it will take me directly to the actor in my folder. So that's a really kind of quick way to navigate. Okay, so this is pretty much 101 for our content browser, but let's say we want to bring in some content of our own. So let's go ahead and open up your content folder, and then we want to import it. So what I'd like you to do is just simply import an image. So what you can do, if you don't have any images on your computer, is go to a browser, like so, and then just type in Pexels. And here in Pexels, you can create an account, but you can still download these for free. And especially falls under fair use, so anything, we don't have to attribute any of the images that we use here because we're using it for educational purposes. But note, if you are to use any photos from Pexels, which are free, you have to check and see if what the licensing agreement is. And so typically they'll want you to give some sort of attribution to the photographer. But here I'm just going to type in texture. All right, so that's a pretty interesting texture. Oh, there's a nice wood texture. Or the stucco is kind of fun too. So I'm going to go ahead and download the stucco texture. And so here it says, say thanks to FF Studios. You can donate, or you can say thank you on social media. But again, this falls under fair use, so we're just going to use it for our educational purposes. All right, so we downloaded that. So now we're going to import that into our folder, the JB content folder for me. I'm going to say import, and I'm going to look to my downloads. And there's my Pexels FW Studio stucco texture. I'm going to bring that in. All right, and there's my image. So what we can do now is I can go ahead and add a basic cube, like so. And I can just simply drag this photo onto the cube. It'll take a moment, and it'll add that texture as a raster image. And there you have it. Got that nice stucco texture applied to my cube. Again, it's probably a little too large of a photo, but look at that. That's really nice. Nice and stucco cube. All right, and you can see here it is in my materials. So if I select that cube, that is the material of the cube. And now let's take another look at the details panel. So we can change the materials here to some of the ones that are in our starter content. So let's say I wanted to change the cube to, let's say, a wood material. So I can type in wood, and I'll get a few different types of wood. So I'm just going to choose pine, and there you have it. And so I just changed that. And I can also then quickly change the cube to another static mesh. So I can change it here to a cone, and there you have it. So that's really important, that you can have an actor, and then you can easily swap it out, keeping its location and all of its other attributes, though, except for its shape. All right, so that's an important aspect of the details panel. Now let's take a look at the world outliner again. So here I have my cube. It's no longer a cube, so I'm going to change its name to cone. And now it's a cone. And let's take a look at things that are static, stationary, or movable. So right here, I have this set for static. So what is the benefit of static? So that means it's going to sit there. It's not going to move. It's not going to bounce or be interactive. And this will save a lot of processing power. So typically we want our meshes to be static. Now stationary, it won't move, but we can have other things applied to it, like it can light up, it can probably change or deform, those types of things. So it's stationary, but it has other attributes. Again, a little more processing power. And then finally, there's movable right here. So we can change our mesh to any one of these three states. But now notice, so this is very important information, that changes here in our world outliner. So now notice that there's an orange dot for movable, stationary is a yellow dot, and static, no dot at all. So again, saving the most processing power. Okay, thanks for joining me. I hope to see you next time.